Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the life of one of history's most revered figures, Mary, the mother of Jesus. But we're going way beyond the familiar Christmas card image. Using the Bible and some really ancient texts as our guide, we are about to uncover the parts of her story you probably never heard.
Okay, so let's get right into it, because behind that serene icon we all recognize, there's this incredible, dramatic story of a young girl who was faced with impossible choices, public trials, and a divine purpose that would, well, literally change the world. It's a powerful story of faith and struggle, and we're going to explore it together.
So our journey doesn't actually start at the Nativity. We're going back even further, to the mysterious and pretty dramatic events that brought Mary and Joseph together in the first place. And this is a story you won't find in the Gospels.
Yeah, how did they meet? The Bible is completely silent on this. We know they were betrothed, but that's about it. To get the rest of the story, we have to dig a little deeper into ancient texts like the Proto-Evangelium of James, which tells a truly fascinating tale.
So according to these ancient accounts, Mary had been consecrated to the temple as a young girl. When she came of age, the priest needed to find her a guardian. Now, this wasn't some simple courtship. This was a divine selection process. After praying for a sign from God, the priests gathered the staffs from all the righteous widowers, and Joseph's dead, wooden staff miraculously bloomed. Then, a dove flew out and landed right on his head. That was it. A crystal-clear sign from God that Joseph, a descendant of King David, was the man chosen to protect her.
Now, try to put yourself in Joseph's shoes for a second. He takes this young girl into his care, and pretty soon after, he finds out she's pregnant. He knows, for a fact, the child isn't his. And under the law at the time, this situation left him with only two really terrible options. And this dilemma, man, it reveals so much about Joseph's character. If he says the child is his, he's disgraced for life, for violating a consecrated virgin. But if he swears his innocence, Mary faces a charge of adultery, which could get her executed. So what was his plan? He decided to protect her by taking all the blame on himself. He was just going to quietly disappear, sacrificing his own name and home to save her life.
But even after an angel came to Joseph in a dream, their problems weren't over. Ancient texts tell us this became a huge public scandal, which led to a terrifying ritual right out of the Old Testament, the trial of the bitter water. This was a test to let God reveal their guilt or innocence. So first Joseph, then Mary, had to drink this water and were sent out into the wilderness. But when they both came back, completely unharmed, it was seen as divine proof. God himself had declared them innocent.
Okay, so their innocence is publicly proven, and now the divine plan can really start to unfold. But this next chapter comes with a pretty startling revelation about Mary's age, and a dark prophecy that would really cast a shadow over her entire life.
14. That's how old Mary likely was when the angel Gabriel appeared to her. Just 14. Think about that. A child, really, entrusted with the single most monumental mission in human history. It's just a powerful reminder that God so often chooses the humble, the young, and the small to do the greatest things. So 40 days after Jesus' birth, Mary and Joseph take him to the temple. And there, a righteous man named Simeon instantly recognizes the baby as the Messiah. But after blessing him, he turns to Mary and gives her this chilling prophecy. He's basically telling her that her joy as a mother is going to be tied to immense, unimaginable pain, foretelling a lifetime of silent sorrow that would be linked to her son's final destiny.
You know, as we keep going, a theme that keeps popping up in Mary's life is her quiet strength and just this profound faith. She faced these huge, unanswerable questions and carried incredible pain, but she did it internally, holding on to mysteries that very few could even begin to understand.
All right, let's tackle one of the big ones. The Bible explicitly mentions Jesus' brothers by name, James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas. This has, you can imagine, created centuries of debate. So how do you square that with the traditional belief in Mary's perpetual virginity?
Well, the answer might just come down to language. The Aramaic word that was used back then, ach, didn't mean biological brother the same way we use it. It was a much broader term. It could mean any close male relative, a cousin, a nephew, a stepbrother. I mean, in the Old Testament, Abraham even calls his nephew Lot his brother. It's a translation thing.
But here's what might be the most powerful piece of evidence to support that idea. It comes from one of Jesus' final moments. As he's dying on the cross, he looks down and puts his mother into the care of his disciple John.
Now, according to the customs of the time, if Mary had other sons, it would have been their absolute duty to care for their widowed mother. Jesus' command wouldn't have been necessary. It would have even been kind of insulting. So that action strongly implies she had no other children there to protect her.
This exact phrase shows up multiple times in the Gospels, and it just perfectly captures her character. From the shepherd's visit to Simeon's dark prophecy, her silence was never weakness or passivity. It was a deep, contemplative faith. She was holding on to these unfolding mysteries from God, just trusting in a plan that she couldn't fully see yet.
So what happens after the resurrection and the birth of the early church? Mary's story just kind of fades from the pages of the Bible, but ancient traditions, held for nearly 2,000 years, describe this beautiful, miraculous, and kind of fitting end to her life on earth.
This incredible tradition is known as the Dormition, which literally means the falling asleep, a term they used for a holy death without any suffering. The belief is that God would not allow the body that had carried his Son to see decay. So instead, after a peaceful passing, surrounded by all the apostles, her body was raised, or assumed, into heaven. The story goes that when they opened her tomb, it was completely empty, filled only with the scent of flowers.
And many theologians and believers think we get one final symbolic glimpse of Mary in the Bible's very last book, the book of Revelation. This image of a celestial queen clothed with the sun, who gives birth to a child destined to rule the nations. It's seen as representing both the church and, on a much more personal level, the mother of the Messiah, now glorified in heaven.
When you look at it all, Mary's hidden story is just this powerful reminder of a profound truth. Her journey wasn't about being flawless or understanding every single step of the way. It was about having a willing heart, a heart ready to say yes to a divine plan, no matter how terrifying or confusing it seemed. Her life really teaches that faith isn't the absence of fear or pain, but it's the courage to trust right in the middle of it.